once in a while you find a car that you don't understand how you didn't know about it. It's such a great car, maybe it's a great value or it's a great performance, but you just never knew about it. Today on Wheel Wells, we're going to be talking about just one of those. Right behind me is my 2005 Acura RL. Now, I might be biased in saying that it's great and that you should have known about it, but I'm going to tell you why. The TL is the midline option if you're looking to buy an Acura. But what you likely didn't know is there's a top line, and that is the RL. Now, what makes it nicer, and how come you didn't know about it if it's that much nicer? Well, mainly it's just the popularity of the Acura TL. It's something that a lot of people want and a lot of people know about, and therefore there's demand. And because no one really knows about the RL, there's not much demand out there. And that's actually great for you because the market value out there for an RL is extremely low, especially if you consider what you're getting. So you can go out there, and I think when I originally got this car 2 or 3 years ago, I spent somewhere around 7 or 8 grand, and I got a car that had a base price sticker price of $49,000, completely optioned out. Every option is actually standard on this car, so if Acura had it, if it existed in 2005, you got it. And as it progressed on, so I think in 2007, you could actually get your rear backup camera and a couple additional features as it got newer. 2005 was the year that Acura refreshed the RL, and it took a big step up. Acura knew that they needed to step up their game, and the RL is what they brought to the table to do that. Power bumped up from the previous generation from 225 horsepower to a 3.5 liter, 300 horsepower V6. Now, that makes it pretty sporty, and to go along with that, they stiffened up the suspension and also provided an incredible super handling all-wheel drive system, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I get to the interior. These features put together inside of a luxury sedan gave you something that was fun, that you could show off for being nice while also enjoying it with your friends. So I'm going to take a step inside and we can talk some more about the great features that this car provides. From the time you open the door, you know that you're stepping into something nice. Acura lets you know right away by loading you up with tons of leather and wood grain. You can see the nice wood grain here, along the top of the door handle here, and it's totally loaded down with leather. Now, one of the issues that the Acura RL does have is a lot of times the leather is very thin and can create a lot of problems. But from what I've found, it's pretty easy to go find an eBay replacement to stick on there and cover it up. That's what I did with my center console, and it's not a problem. Now, if you look farther into the interior, you can see you have your controls on the steering wheel here. You have volume and your channels on the radio, your cruise control here, a couple different settings for what you want to view in your information system, and it actually comes with Bluetooth hands-free device talking. Now, if you think about that, that's pretty common now, but in 2005, hands-free Bluetooth was pretty new and you couldn't really get it in anything. And that's what's so great about being able to jump into what was a $50,000 car in 2005 for less than 10 grand today. And if you really do your searching, you can probably find them for around 5 grand with higher mileage, and you just can't beat the value. Another couple things you're going to notice the moment you sit in the driver's seat of the RL is that you have paddle shifters. Now, of course, this is something that Ferrari had back in the 90s, but it's not something that you found in a family sedan in the early 2000s. These do have a nice feel, and they're actually pretty fun to use. The car's not, incredibly fast. You're not going to be out there beating exotic sports cars, but you can have some fun with it on some back roads. Now, that being said, the sequential gearbox that this car has is not exactly one of the fastest, and it's not going to be anything like a double clutch that you would have gotten in something exotic. Now, if I go ahead and turn the key on here, I'm going to flip through some of the other options that you can find in this car. So if you look here, I'm looking kind of down here where it's showing my average fuel economy. I'm going to show some of the options that we have here. One of my favorite ones is right here. So as we were talking about earlier, this car has super handling all-wheel drive. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little bit over the top and exaggerated, but it's really neat. It allows the car to be able to transfer horsepower and torque, not only from the front and rear axles, but also from left to right. And so as you're going through turns, it's active handling and it can adjust on the spot. And, you know, it's maybe not going to, you know, pull major G-forces in the corner or anything that's going to blow your mind, but it is surprising how well this car sticks to the road. Now, I've outfitted mine with Pirelli Centurados all the way around, mainly because at the time that I was putting new tires on, I was doing a lot more traveling, and I was in places with a lot of snow, and this car is phenomenal in the snow and in the ice. I don't know if I can fully contribute that to just the all-wheel drive or the tires on the car, but if you're in a location that has snow and ice and you're thinking about what's a nice, relatively inexpensive vehicle you can get, this is right up your alley. In modern days, pretty much everyone uses their phone, but surprisingly, I found myself using this navigation more than I thought I could. Now, while yes, typically anytime someone tells you, hey, meet me at this location, you're probably going to put it in your phone. But if you're out somewhere and you just want to go back home, it's really easy to just go right back in. You can go right in here into the menu and hit either address or maybe a previous destination. I know it's difficult to see there. I got a pretty bad glare on the camera, but it's incredibly easy to just enter back home and let it take you home. Now, you may be worried that, you know, since this is from 2005, it's quite outdated, and I was pretty worried about that at first, but I've actually not really had any problems with it. Maybe once where it told me to take a longer route, even though there was a new road there. So overall, it's actually quite useful. Now, what you'll also find on the screen here is you can go to audio and see your different radio stations. Back in 2005, this car also had XM Sirius or XM radio or Sirius radio, and if you have a subscription, you could still use that now. Not something I use, so not something I really worry about. Also above the display, there's also a second display here. Unfortunately, on my car, that tends to go out quite a bit. I mean, maybe if I play with it a little bit, you could see I can get it to come back. Maybe not something that always goes wrong on these cars, but it's something that I've faced with mine. Moving down toward the shift knob, nothing really spectacular to see here. But you do get heated seats both in the driver and passenger side. You have a nice cup holder setup. That's actually quite adjustable, not only with just a lever here, but if you push this button here, I don't know if you guys could see that, but it opens the cup holder up and makes it deeper. If you have a deep cup, just keeps it from falling over on you. The armrest is quite nice, but as I mentioned before, sometimes the leather here is very thin and it wears through. I think I got these cover replacements off of eBay, I don't know, maybe 20 bucks or something like that. So pretty easy fix and durable. They're actually great. The console opens up on both sides, and then you can also have storage in the bottom compartment there. Now, one of the best quirks about this car is in the glove box. Now, yeah, it's probably not all that crazy to most people, but it's a great hiding spot if there's something that you want to keep. If you look into the glove box here, you're going to get your standard glove box here. You know, I keep napkins in here, but up here you can see that it says release button. So if you just reach up and push, you'll see this drops down. Now, this was originally made for the owner's manual, and I do keep my owner's manual in here. But if you prefer to just keep your owner's manual in your glove box, this is a great place where, you know, just things that you want to keep, whether they're important documents to you or if you have a concealed carry license. This is a great place to keep. Maybe it's a weapon that you carry, but it's just a really neat place to store things. What you also find here is there's actually a switch for the trunk. Now, I've used this when my car was getting transported. If I had things in the trunk, I could turn that switch off. That way that I knew they wouldn't, you know, go into my trunk and maybe take some of the things out of there. So just a neat perk to have. So again, when you first step into this car, extremely nice. Acura did a great job with using high quality leather and wood grain. And it's just something that, you know, when people get in it, I've gotten more compliments on this car than I ever could have imagined. Not entirely why I bought the car. I did want something nice, but I didn't think that many people would compliment how nice it was. Especially, you know, if they asked me, what year is this? And it is pretty funny to tell them 2005 with all the features that it has. Now I'm going to move to the back seat and talk about a couple more of the features in this car. Moving into the back seat, you're going to see the same nice trim that you had on the front seats. So when you move to the back, also, you know, the leather is quite nice, very plush. If you fold down the center arm console here, nice place to rest your arm, and also dual cup holders. Now, one of the next features is something that's maybe not mind-blowing, but it's also just really nice to have. Not only on the sides do you have manual roll-up window shades, that's something that you can enjoy, but also in the back, I'm gonna see if I can reach forward here, but if you can see behind me, you have an automatic rear shade. Now, in one way, it's just a really cool feature to show off, but it's also, you know, quite useful. Back when I lived in Arizona, the sun is always extremely hot, and you want all the shade you can get. And it's a great way to also protect, you know, so the plastic and the back of your seats here. So it's just really nice to be able to press a button and have that come up. Now, anytime you throw the car into reverse, it immediately goes back down. Also, just a nice feature. If you happen to have taller individuals sitting in your back seat and the seat is too low, which it looks like, you know, you can kind of see here, it's only just above my shoulder. Fortunately, there are headrests that fold up. So you can reach back on all three seats and fold these up. Now, what happens when they get out of the car and you've got these big, huge things blocking your rear window? You don't have to come back here and let each one of them down if you're the driver. Fortunately, there's just a button right up here. You can kind of see where it shows the headrest. You press that button there and bam, just like that, they're down. You know, it's just things like that are really neat about the car. It's kind of unnecessary in some ways, but when you're the driver and people get out of the car and they forget to put something down, just being able to reach up and hit a button, it's quite nice. Now, as we looked at before, the seats in this car are quite nice and they're incredibly comfortable. I've taken this car on cross-country trips and never had a problem whatsoever. And they're incredibly adjustable, so if you get in and they don't quite feel right to you, you can make plenty of adjustments to them and fit you just right. Now, while Acura had this focus on making a sports sedan, the downside to that is you get pretty stiff suspension in this car. And if you ask me, it's probably the greatest weakness of this car overall. When you get into a luxury sedan, you really expect it to be smooth, and you know, typically people refer to it being like a Cadillac. You don't get this in this car. You're going to get a stiffer ride. Now again, because of that, you get a greater performance and it's a lot more fun to drive, but it is going to be stiff. The Bose sound system in this car is also a great feature. Not only does it sound great, but it also has active noise canceling that cancels out a lot of the noises that you would hear from the road. Now this is great just for not having to have the music turned up loud or if someone is sleeping in your car. Still puts a smile on my face. You know, and again, you know, yes, it's an Acura and you're not going to blow anybody's socks off with this thing, but when you're talking about being able to pick one of these up in the range of $6 to $7 grand in great shape all day long, you know, the alternative is that you can get something like a Honda Accord or an Acura TL, and you're just not doing yourself justice. I mean, if you do a little more searching, and now that you guys know about it, go out and get yourself an RL. My name is Wes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Wheel Wells. If you did, like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.